Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Kirby. Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you on this Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful to you, and I'm thankful to all of our customers and all of our viewers.
I am
Keep it.
thankful
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about verification, right? Detecting deception and verification. There's a lot of different types of verification that could be going on out there right now. Everything from, and I know you have it in the capital in the title of our. Yes, the title. Detecting deception, information verification in the fluid AI environment from individual scams and fraud to nation states. Yeah, there's a
Yep.
lot when we talk about verification. There's a lot that goes into it. And so one of the things that I want to just really quickly, before we talk about all this, is we want to let you know about our Black Friday deal because there's only a few days left. It doesn't really end on Black Friday. It ends on Cyber Monday. So you have some bonus days. But we do have a Black Friday deal, which is actually I didn't even bring up that page, so I better bring it up. If you just go to academy.pluses.net, it is on the front page. Let me share that for you right now. And if you watched last week's show, you saw it already. But we are offering right now $1,000 off of our regular everything OSINT bundle. So basically, this is the full-length classes, including OSINT Comprehensive and OSINT Basics and OSINT Basics for OSINT 101, OSINT Basics for Financial Crime and Fraud. And it includes all of the webinars, and we have a whole new series of modular classes. Sarah's working on the dark web one that should be released pretty soon. The one that's already out there is the internet subcultures one, and I am releasing retail frauds shortly. We also have some really cool new products in there that'll also be part of this as well, being something like the, for example, we have the Quick Start OSINT packet. And it gives you like everything you need to get started and get running with doing some OSINT work. So anyway, wanted to make sure everybody knew that. We have that until Monday. So hopefully everybody who's interested will take advantage of that. Okay, let's get back to talking about deception. Before we go into like all of, we have tons of cool articles and that to talk about as far as this goes, but I want to talk about breaking news that happened today. Now, we're not breaking news. We don't do breaking news, but one of the things we do is talk about how when breaking news happens, how you can figure out, kind of decipher what's true, what's not, what's known and what is not yet known, because it is really important to know that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to claim that things are already known when they're not. And breaking news today is that there was a shooting in DC. There was two I think they were West Virginia National Guard soldiers that were shot and killed in DC. And so, of course, when anything like that happens, it's going to be politicized right away. And it doesn't matter which side you're on, things are coming flying at you like, this person did it, this person did it, they believed in this, they believe whatever, right? To be quite honest, a lot of times no one knows at first. It's somebody's trying to get that first bullet out there so that you kind of get that in your cognitive into the cognitive bias stream of like the first thing you heard. So I'm going to give you a couple of tools to really quickly deal with that. And the first tool that I want to give you for that, and actually both of them are just news sites that are going to both give you opportunities to look at multiple sides at once. All right. So the first one, and I'm sure you've heard of it before, is Ground News. Sarah, you've heard of Ground News, right?
Right. It's good.
So they were advertising a lot lately. So, I mean, I think that almost everybody knows about them. But the idea is that they will have a story and they will go through all sorts of different coverage of it from the center to the left to the right and kind of show you what all the different news stations are saying. And you can click into any which one of those that you choose to see, the other side of the story than what you might have already gotten in your regular feed. So that's one. Then my second resource does similar, and this is something that actually a conversation with Sarah a while back reminded me of, and that's News Now. I don't know if you remember that, Sarah, when I was like, oh, News Now, I haven't seen it for a while, but News Now also They, I love News Now so much. And the reason I love News Now, I mean, I'm going to show you a lot about News Now, just really quickly though, is because when you have something like that that happened, DC shooting updates, for example, right here, you can actually click on this little pile right there and you get, again, kind of the all sources. So you can see a whole bunch of different coverage. So you can figure out, who knows what, kind of triage between all the news stories, what really is known, what spins are going on, that sort of thing. But the other reason that I really love News Now is because when you go into anything here, so I'm just going to go into World, for example, you can kind of drill down. So we've got top stories in World, and they've got latest. This is the stuff that's happened in the last half hour, and you can kind of drill down to 10 minutes if you want to. For example, in Hot Topics, one of my hot topics all the time is Epstein. If you don't see it there, you do have the ability to search for it. So I'm going to go in and search for Epstein. And it will give you, again, the top articles, but in the last 10 minutes, this article came out. The last hour, this one came out. So you can kind of watch things as they happen. If you're the type of news hound that wants to know exactly what's happening at any moment, then this is one of those tools that's going to be great for you. So again, we can say, let's go over here and we'll say DC shooting. And here we go. So now we've got the headlines, and then we've got information about shootings, and we can jump into a topic about it as well. So I love this resource. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that and show you guys it. Now, our topic, detecting deception in investigations. So I'm going to bring up this first article. Sarah, you added this article. Let me let you go ahead and start talking about how to tell if someone is lying through text. That's interesting, huh? So if somebody's texting you and they're lying?
Yep. So if you scroll down, so the first thing, it gives 17 points to look at. Mm-hmm. For example, long pauses before replying is the first one. Second one is if somebody gives a lot of details. The one thing I would say about this is it is culturally dependent. This was actually a UK article. And so, this might be for people in the UK or from, the US, but never assume that just because you have a set of 17 things, like if it's one of those things, that somebody's lying. So if somebody says, oh, that's wrong, I actually meant this, that doesn't mean that they're backtracking as being deceptive. It might be that they actually forgot. But when you start having a combination of all these things, then you can look at it and think, well, maybe this is deception because it's more than one of these elements. So if you have like 3 out of the 17 or 5 out of the 17, then there's a higher probability or possibility that it could be deception.
Absolutely. And one of the things I think that sometimes, because again, you're right, it's so much has to do with culture, that if we were to say that we wanted to switch the culture for this, I think what we could probably do is go to AI and ask for some cultural hints from there. So I'm just going to quickly jump over to Gemini. And now Sarah is a master of AI prompting. She's not going to let me put some simple prompt in. Sarah, what should we tell it to do? Let's say that we want to find out the indications that somebody's lying in and they are...
Okay, so I am a policeman from Japan.
Okay, so we're saying... So we shall...
Yeah, I am a policeman from Japan who is assessing a list of text messages from a suspected member of the Yakuza and believe he is lying. What may some of the tells be? Actually, it would probably be a much longer prompt, but for, we're in a on a stream.
For brevity.
So, right, for brevity.
Yeah, so like one of the things we could also do is ask it to give us a matrix.
Mhm.
Provide the answer in a matrix.
Yep. Oh, and the format that you want it in, and what you believe he's lying about. So you
And then
believe that
confidence levels as well, maybe.
he might be lying about human trafficking or something like that.
Right. We'll just kind of leave it at that right now. So
Okay.
we don't know what we didn't put his conversation in
Okay.
there. So actually I should have mentioned though, culturally Japanese stuff, right?
Right.
Because it's kind of giving us some of the same stuff: narrative inconsistencies, conversational behavior. All right. So is using Japanese honorifics, slang, how might they relate to deception cues? So it's asking us some further questions, but it can give you some hints on how to take that, the first article, and apply it to a different culture.
Right. Yep.
So
Good
yeah,
point.
I love it. That's fantastic. And our second article is kind of similar, in that instead of looking for somebody when they're texting, this is going to be looking for if you have a chance to see them, right?
Right.
Whether I think it could be in Zoom, but I think in person is ideal. And this is how to actually catch a liar according to the new science of lie detection. Sarah?
So this was actually a very interesting article, because what it talks about is having a base level of somebody's behavior, and to be able to differentiate, like when they have one lie, and then to look at when they're telling their truth, and then to cross compare how their behavior is when they're telling the truth and how their behavior is when they're lying, because most people act different when they're doing one or the other. The article did say that it placed an emphasis on not relying on nonverbal cues. So some people make a mistake by saying, oh, you can tell if somebody's lying from their eye movements. Well, maybe technology could come out that could tell if somebody's lying from their eyes, but human beings are not to that point yet. And if you have people that are from, again, different cultures or different backgrounds, or even if somebody is neurodivergent, the way that they would react to something is different than another person would react. So the whole basis of this article was looking at patterns of analysis with how somebody lies and how somebody when they're not lying. And they used an example with Twitter of a politician, and looked at, the base of how the language was different on when the person lied versus not lying.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something like even just passive voice when they decide they're going to lie, because that then feels like maybe they're distancing themselves from it or something.
And that's one of the things, like in the first article, as they said in text, is when somebody doesn't refer to personal pronouns, maybe they're lying. But then again, you also have to combine that with other things, because a lot of people are trained to avoid personal pronouns as a part of writing more professionally. So you would have to combine it with some other tells to know that they actually are being deceptive versus somebody who just doesn't like personal pronouns.
Absolutely. And I also agree that it's a pattern, so multiple of these. And my next link that I have for you is a YouTube channel called the Behavior Panel, and I'm going to throw their page up here. They really highlight their behavioralists. They kind of identify, people's body language, that sort of thing. And it's 4 guys. I love this channel. It's fantastic. But they really, really emphasize that it's not just one of these indicators. It has to be a pattern of indicators, and it has to be different, again, from what you said was the baseline.
Right.
Go for the baseline first. Yeah.
Right. And when I did, I've only done one polygraph, but the one polygraph I did do, the lady who let me do it, it was just because I wanted to try a polygraph.
I've done several, not because I wanted to, but because you have to for security clearances. But yeah.
And so she had me do a base lie at the beginning of it. And I think, having that base of being able to figure out where that first lie is really critical to assisting or helping with the pattern. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to kind of go into talking about AI. And well, we're talking about pre-AI first.
Yeah.
All right. So let me grab this page up. This is a really dense page that's coming up here. Just so you know. It's from the Department of State. How to identify misinformation.
Yes, this was created by the counter disinformation team in the early 2000s by Todd Leventhal. And what this does is it's talking about in text or in at that time in the early 2000s, how are some of the ways that you can identify disinformation in
Forums. Oh, I think she froze. Sarah, you froze on us for a minute there. But it is about
one of the primary ways that you can look at it. Yeah, sorry, I dropped off for a second.
Go ahead.
One of the primary ways that you can look at finding disinformation in like a news story or on a website is to see if it fits the pattern of a urban legend or you know, a conspiracy theory. Is there a secret source that's unnamed? Is there is it similar to prior stories that have been in the past? This is still a very good resource to use. I'm not saying that because I worked with Todd Leventhal, although I think he's an awesome person to work with. But I think this is a good old school article that still is applicable today, especially when you're looking at propaganda videos and at articles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Very dense, but a good article to kind of start with. Now let's transition to a case where a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And this one is the Carrie Farver case. This is if for those of you who are true crime buffs, you may have heard of this case before, because it's kind of notorious and kind of like a little bit shocking, right, Sarah? We'll play
It's
this.
very shocking.
Yeah, we'll play the beginning of this video.
Iowa. She was known for being responsible, intelligent, and devoted to her teenage son, Max. In 2012, she started dating Dave Krupa, a man she met through a dating app, Plenty of Fish. Their relationship was casual and both agreed not to be exclusive. At the same time, Dave had also been seeing another woman, Shauna Liz Golyar, who lived nearby. All three crossed paths when Carrie briefly visited Dave's apartment one day and ran into Liz as she was leaving. That brief encounter marked the beginning of one of the strangest true crime cases in modern history.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. People, if you haven't seen this before, you need to learn this. Just even from that beginning section, though, you can kind of tell who's going to be the bad guy or the perpetrator, right? From the pictures, because it was a mugshot.
Right.
Mugshot. But anyway, yeah, this was a bizarre case and a lot having to do with deception, identity theft. Sarah.
This case had so much deception in it by the person who committed the crime. From she shot herself, I mean, that's a pretty drastic deceptive move, to she sent fake texts, thousands and thousands of fake texts to her boyfriend and to other people and to even the victim's parents, to the victim's mom. She actually set, you know, her house on fire and said it was the victim. So she went, and she got away. She got away with this deception for over 2.5 years.
Her deception, and to be, I mean,
yeah.
Okay, spoiler. If you don't want to know this, plug your ears, shut your eyes right now. But she made it seem as if the victim was actually stalking her for that whole period of time.
Right. Yep. She even put duct tape on her mouth and put herself in the trunk and said that the victim had temporarily kidnapped her. So this was a very strange, because one, the there was still a basis of people just believed what they saw in text. And so they, except for the mom of the victim didn't believe it. And she kept trying to get law enforcement to look at it, and it became a cold case. And then somebody picked it back up. But there was a tendency for people to believe what they saw versus trying to see what the other competing hypotheses would be. And that's one of the reasons why I actually put this in here, because in the age of artificial intelligence and as it keeps continuing to evolve, you can't rely on what you see. Even more so now than back then. So back then they were like, oh, well, this was, she sent a text and I read the text and therefore it's real. So now you can see somebody's voice and you can see somebody's face and it still might not be real. So it's really important to incorporate competing hypotheses into whatever analysis you're doing for investigations.
So Stein Giancarlo says, is part of the problem we don't want to be accusatory toward victims, how she got away for 2 years, I mean. And that could be absolutely part of it, because I mean, it's when a victim does like come forward, you don't want to, even if you don't necessarily like something seems wrong, you don't want to disbelieve them, because that will chill real victims, right?
That's true too. Yeah.
And
I think it was, but it was really strange because nobody heard her voice and nobody saw her. They were just believing what they were getting in text.
Right, but now, if this was done right now, they could use a voice cloner. We'll talk about those in a few minutes, and like clone her voice just off of whatever videos she has on her Facebook or whatever, and then she could be, leaving voice messages, and then people would. I mean, even now, people would be, oh, okay, then that must be her. So that would be a voice message.
Right, yeah,
absolutely.
But I think that comment was just made was a good point, is that you do want to protect victims. So sometimes, that may happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, and the thing is, like, the interesting thing with this one was she played the victim, but she was actually the perpetrator. So there was a real victim. A lot of times you think, okay, believe the victims. If they're not really a victim, less harm to, just believe it from the start and figure it out later. But in this case, there was a real victim, so if you want to learn more, Sarah has provided for us an episode of true crime documentaries.
This series on the true crime documentary on Carrie Farver, I thought was very good. So that's why I put it in here.
Heard a couple other podcasts I've seen, rather heard the story a few times. Yeah, it's definitely and interesting and shocking. I mean, imagine if it was your family. Sorry about that. Let's go to the next one, which wants to start playing already. Let's see. All right. Speaking of voice clones, really, this is not science fiction, of course, and I know some people are seeing it already, but let's see. Let's go. I'm going to back a little bit. All right.
Over the last few years, there's been an explosion of calls claiming that we have your daughter. She's in trouble, send money or else. Well, what's happened more recently is the call comes in and says, we are your daughter. Hi, I'm your daughter. I'm in trouble. Send money right now.
So what exactly is a deepfake and how does it work?
A deepfake is taking anyone's likeness, whether it's their face, a single image from LinkedIn or online, or a few seconds of audio, and using a pre-trained model, replicating their likeness to make them say or do anything you want.
These deepfakes are so advanced, it's even hard for experts to tell the difference.
So we use one of these, don't we, Sarah?
Yes, 11 labs.
Not for deepfakes, but for professional reasons. We use 11 labs, which is probably the #1 voice cloning tool out there. And we use it to help us present materials in ways. I mean, it's no surprise to anybody out there. I have weird pauses in my speech. And a lot of my clients already know that, and they're fine with that in their classes. But sometimes it'd be nice to have like a speech go work perfectly. So I can use the deepfake kind of technology in 11 Labs to take my voice, clone it, and have something that I say. But I'm in control of it still. Sarah's in control of hers still. But this is when, I mean, that technology is not going to say, oh, I know that for sure it's you, Kirby, whose voice you're cloning, because they don't know me. They don't know my voice. They just know the material that I put into them. And if I went through your Facebook account and found your granddaughter speaking about all sorts of different things and put that into there and cloned that voice and then called you with that voice, and it's fairly quickly processing, so like you could actually converse with it probably. I mean, it's quick enough, I think. A little stunted sometimes. I think if you were to do that, it would be a little easier to tell than if you were to like have it pre-chosen, because you could like, there's sometimes where the AI flubs pronunciations or spacing or whatever, and you can like redo it and make it perfect if you want. And if you were doing a live conversation, you wouldn't do that, of course. But.
And this problem is just going to continue to evolve and grow because voice cloning has gotten better, and there's not safety guardrails on some of the voice cloning software. You have more ethical, I would say, companies that do have guardrails, and then you have companies that don't care about guardrails. And they'll even advertise, this software is for pranks, or you can use it for a prank.
Guardrail free is their advertising.
Guardrail free.
Yeah.
Right.
So even, and we're talking not just the audio stuff, but even the video stuff. For example, Sora. Sora has a lot of guardrails, and they're getting more and more. And it's getting kind of annoying because they go a little too hard on it. But I can understand why. But one of the things that I want to point out is that they're not good at the voice unless that person is famous and there's a lot of material out there. For example, Donald Trump's voice, they're pretty good at. My voice, not so much. Not that I've cloned myself in Sora yet. Depending, I'm just deciding on that. Snoop Dogg has cloned himself, and his voice is very, very well cloned in there. So yeah. Hi, Sailor Cyber. Good evening.
Good evening.
So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on out there as far as that, and helping you identify, which ones, or not necessarily even which tools, but which videos or which whatever is reality. And I see articles about it. In fact, even right before this presentation, an article came through about how, for example, I think it was the Danish are dealing with this, and I didn't have a chance to read it yet in Scientific American, but there's a lot of thought going into how people are dealing with this sort of thing. Let's talk more about voice cloning.
Okay.
All right. So there's an article on Consumer Reports that talks about voice cloning apps make it easier for criminals to steal your voice.
Right. So the reason I included this article was, one, it has some just basic tips in it that people can use, but two, it's a good explainer on how it works. The one thing that was not in here as a suggestion was that if you are concerned about somebody like faking somebody in your family, or you're worried about voice cloning fraud, or somebody calling and saying, hi, this is your daughter or your son, have a password.
Passphrase, maybe even.
Yeah, or a passphrase. It's not foolproof, but it's certainly something that you can add to your toolkit, is that you have a family passphrase, or the person that you would be worried about if you got a deep fake clone voice from them, that you have a password that is, or passphrase that's shared with them.
Or even a topic. So you could, bring up the topic of a dog or whatever, and make up something that's not true and see if they flow with it. So Giancarlo
Popcorn.
And he goes on to say, that was mine growing up.
Was popcorn?
Okay.
Yeah.
In case someone was going to pick up them for school or something. Yeah. So they had to come and say popcorn, which was great. I think that's fantastic. That's the stranger danger part of it, right?
Right.
Yeah, and that
So-
goes for cyber as well. So your granddaughter's going to call you, and maybe you're going to start talking, and so before she starts, telling you how much money she needs to get out of the speeding ticket or whatever she's in jail for, she can say, "Well, it's because of popcorn," and you'll know, okay, she really is in jail. I'll go figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's go on to our next article, and this next one was. This one is the group-ib.com. Let's go and check this one out. The anatomy of deepfake voice phishing.
Mhm.
And again, it goes into kind of similar stuff.
Right. So this one actually was a more technical article, which went into a case study or a case example, and actually broke down how the bad actors were conducting their phishing attack. So if you are into, if you're doing cybersecurity investigations that are involving voice deepfakes, I thought this was a really good case study to look at. If you go down like further, it has a nice graph in there that breaks down like how the actors interacted.
There's our workflow.
Like the work, yeah, exactly, the workflow. And I thought this was well done, so that's why I included it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This is actually, I do think this is a fantastic example.
Yeah, and if you the 4 points right there, if you go up, this shows like they looked at like the 4 primary categories of entities and people that are getting hit. So, I mean, you do have people that are getting hit, obviously, for scams, like we talked about, like this is your daughter, but big ones are government official impersonation, bank staff, executives, and then the last one was one I just mentioned, family, friends, and colleagues.
That CEO fraud one is where the CEO calls up the financial officer and says, "We need to wear so much to so and such," and I heard his voice. That's the CEO. I better wire some money. Right. Yeah.
People have lost millions of dollars on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
could easily get a voice sample for the clone that way and would never know. Yeah, it's so easy to get, because there's so many videos, there's videos of me with my weird spacing of words and whatever out there that when you clone it, that actually includes it inside the clone a little bit. Like it's a little bit better than my real cadence for speaking, but you do have still like these little weird things that you would think it was me. Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, here's a little graph about the money laundering. So I'm just going to point out this author right here, Wan Huang. She did a great job on this. This is a really good article.
I liked it.
Yeah. All right. Next, let's talk about, well, how do I avoid this, right? Because what in the heck are we here for if we're not here to help you figure out how to deal with this stuff?
Right.
Sarah.
So this is just some general guidance from Trend Micro. So it explains how you should, like some of the steps you should take for spotting a deepfake. And if you step right there, so it says, listen for unnatural pauses, whether or not it's robotic, question whether something is unexpected or if there's like an urgency to it. You know, if somebody is pushing something like a pressure sale, like trying to sell you a timeshare, except on a phone call, you might want to ask, why is that? Verify.
Right. They might be saying you're going to go to jail as their pressure techniques, but if it feels like a timeshare sales pitch, it probably is.
And check for inconsistencies. Does it make logical sense? And even though if it's a real entity or a real identity, I do know some people have gotten annoyed with me even prior to AI when I've challenged them to identify themselves. But I think in today's age, it makes total sense to identify. And if it is a business that you are familiar with, say, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now, but I can call you back. What number can I call you back at? And if they won't let you call them back, well, either it's poor customer service, or they might,
Yeah.
or they might be hiding something. So
Right. And if
yeah.
they get offended, honestly, right now, don't worry about offending somebody. If there really
Right.
is your bank and that one person gets offended, when you go back and talk to your bank and it really was them and they really was a problem, then you should complain about, hey, this person was offended when I was just making sure I wasn't getting scammed. And it is their fault, not
Right.
yours.
And sometimes social engineers will use "I'm offended" as an approach. You know, they'll use that as a viable approach to make the other person feel bad so that they give in.
Yeah, as if, oh no, nobody ever questions me for this because I'm the real person. Well, no, question
Right.
everything. And again, the whole urgency thing. If you don't have time, and I tell this to my family, if you don't have time to hang up, call me, and then call them back, then it's a scam. Because then they can call me and ask if it's a scam or not, or what I think about it. Maybe I'm going to get on the call with them. Not everybody has a person to call like that, but again, pretend you do. Say, okay, well, I need to call my son, my son-in-law, my daughter, whatever, to find out what she thinks about this. And if they won't let you get off the phone, if they're offended at that, chances are it's a scam anyway, hang up on them.
Yep.
What to do after? So the number one thing is hang up, right? But sometimes it's too late. But anyway, so talk about reporting it, warning your friends and family, how to stay protected. And this is, verifying. But I think the interesting thing is also how to avoid being cloned. You know what? That's really difficult. I mean, it depends on how much material is already out there about you on the internet and how much you need to put out there. So for example, Sarah and I, we teach classes. Our stuff's on the internet.
Right. I do have a friend that, he really has no presence online. So, I mean, in his case, I would say he's definitely protected against getting cloned. But if you have any YouTube video online or you have any speech online, or you are at risk.
Right.
So, yeah.
So even Facebook, if you're putting videos on Facebook with your voice out there, somebody can take it and clone it. And it doesn't matter if you have a private account or not, because private is only as private as the people you are allowed to see it and who they allow to see it, right? So I'm not saying don't put videos on Facebook. I'm just saying that that's maybe where they come from. So if you ever think, oh, I can't be cloned, all my stuff is private on social media, not necessarily.
Right.
So anyway, let's go on to the next one, where we have somebody who actually had been deepfaked for scams. And we'll play a little bit about this video here.
Where a company made you and another person who wasn't really there in a video to sell a product. Would you mind if I played a clip of that?
Yeah, sure. Like, men just keep coming over to hit on you. I mean, I get it. You're 56, but you look like you're 30. Still, give the rest of us a chance, will you?
Thank you so much. I actually get that a lot.
I mean, I believe it. Your skin looks stunning.
Thank you.
But come on, tell us. What's your secret?
Okay, but don't go telling everyone, all right? This is my best kept secret.
Deal. I promise.
I realize there's really just one thing you need: deep skin hydration.
Deep hydration.
All right, so he's showing him right now. So this guy is this guy, minus the beard, right? And he's showing him right now how easy it is. And even on things that have guardrails like Sora, one of the things I posted this week on LinkedIn was life will find a way, because I'm watching people get around the content violations. One of the things with Sora is if the person's already dead, they don't mind you, spoofing them. But if they're not, then they do mind you. Well, people are getting around with it by having, lookalike contests or whatever. I tried it myself to get around it. And what I've done is I took a picture of myself at a younger age and went through another AI tool to make a sketch, and then went to Sora and said, okay, bring this sketch alive, make her whatever, a cartoon. And then I said, well, can we make her a real person? And now I have turned her into a character, and now she can do whatever I want her to do. Because it just worked a little bit around. So Cyber says, I've received calls where no one responds. And I'm just saying, hello, hello. Not sure if that is enough to steal a voice. I mean, you hear things like that, or you hear the thing where they ask you something where they just get you to say yes to steal your voice. I don't think that's enough to steal a voice, because even 11 Labs, which I think is probably the best, needs at least 10 seconds of somebody speaking for them to try and clone a voice.
Right. But I also would add to that that's like currently right now, and that can always change.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Exactly. Like something last year that I would have said about, oh, this is true about AI and this is what they can't do. Well, they can do it now,
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
definitely.
But this one also had some pretty clear tells in it, where you could look at the tells and say, okay, this might be a deep fake. So one of the first things I would see is whenever you see something being advertised, like the company or the name of the company is in the lower left-hand corner with a little circle and a little, little watermark with the name of the company.
Yep.
Yeah. So you would always research the company to see, is it a legitimate company? When was the company formed? What is the background about it? What are its other advertisements? The other thing was, this deepfake was made, a few years prior, and it's more choppy, and you had some, like, it just didn't have a natural flow to it.
I would say also like the cutscene in where
Yeah.
she's advertising the skin stuff. I'm like, that's
Right.
not going to happen in the middle of the podcast. That would happen like maybe she'd make it into an ad later, but in the middle of the podcast, she's just going to speak about it, and then
Right.
Yeah.
And
that is one thing I do notice about Sora. You can tell it not to do that. And Sora's not the only one. There's a whole bunch about there. There's Dreammaker and there's Runway ML. I don't know if I got that right or not. But there's a bunch of other video creators that are really good as well. And I know that Gemini VO as well, but I haven't had access to VO myself, so I don't get to play it.
Yeah. Now the problem is though that people can make deepfakes a lot better than this one. And that's where you start running into really having to drill down the information about the advertised company versus versus the source.
Right. You go through the source, find out more about the source, because things are getting better and better and better. And the number one thing to look through is the source. Who's putting it out there? Do they have a reason to put it out there? Have they put other things that don't seem realistic out there? Are they really tied? Like, is he or the woman tied to whatever that source is? There's the research in the source is going to be the key in the future.
Right.
Yep. All right, let's get another article. Let's talk about nation state size. AI is supercharging disinformation warfare.
Right.
And I think we've seen this for sure.
Yeah. This is just going to continue. I mean, it's you have artificial intelligence that's being used domestically by nation states or by political candidates within different nation states to influence elections, whether it's someplace in Holland or someplace in the United States or someplace. It is happening, and then during actual warfare, it's happening as well. Early on, when Russia went into Ukraine, not too far after that, there was a fake Zelensky that was put out. It wasn't a very well done Zelensky. That one was pretty easy to debunk, but there's been subsequent actors that have been put out as deepfakes dealing with trying to influence troops or trying to influence putting down arms. And this can be added to the PSYOPs, adversarial PSYOPs toolkit, or their perception management campaigns. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, and the other thing is with troll farms, traditionally, like the big troll farms that were in St. Petersburg, where they had to rely on people to go work in that company or work in that building, is now with AI being evolved or continuing to evolve, is they'll still need people to do the more nuanced work in the troll farms. Whether it's but you can get a lot of adversarial bang for your buck by using AI to put out just mass messages by AI generated trolls.
Absolutely. One of the things that in
So-
the past, the troll networks would basically have the same message, not necessarily exactly the same in quotes, but it would be the same words, a couple variations, and people would be able to map those troll networks no problem just because they do some very simple searches. And now, because of AI, the wording can get quite different. You can have some short snippet ones. You can have ones that are putting out whole paragraphs. You can have a whole variety. Some aiming for one audience, some aiming for another audience, etc., run by just a few people. And it's a force multiplier, even for
Yep.
troll farms.
Yep.
Absolutely. Okay, let's bring it back home. Let's bring it back to this week, in fact. Let's talk about Black Friday deals. Scams everywhere. We are in the age of grift. We are in the age of grift.
So I had a friend, she bought a pair of shoes prior to Black Friday. That was from a fake site. And that was problematic. And they had named the site or named the shoes very closely after the brand she was trying to buy. So it's really important when you are doing shopping online for Black Friday or Cyber Monday is to really look at the URL. Is it the exact URL? You know, don't just glance at it and say, oh, it looks like it, because
or maybe even just search it separately to make sure it's
right. Yeah, or type it in manually to make sure it's typed in correctly. Somebody could replace a 0 with an O, or
an N with the letter, the Cyrillic version that looks like an N, but it's not an N.
Yeah, and you can get duped really easy, just like that. And then also, you know, look at the you can also do a who is of the domain by going to like a registrant domain lookup tool like whois.sc and see
super easy. Who is?
Yeah. Whois.com. Look at the registrant information, and if that domain was just recently registered, that could be a red flag right there, because type squatting, issue double. Yeah, well, that's also typo squatting is a good point too.
Well, yeah, that's
Excellent
like
point.
You go to Macy's. It looks
Right.
like it's Macy's.com, but you do a who is on it. You realize the M is
Right.
not an M. It's something from a different language, and it's made just 2 weeks ago. You know, Macy's.com has been up for a while.
Right. And another thing is you can also see if any place else, if it's like a super great deal on like a popular product, is see if that great deal is being advertised in other places. So
Is it too good for, too good to be true?
Yeah.
Probably is.
So, but this is a great, just brief article that covers some of the main points on what you should look out for.
And that's not just Black Friday, it's every day. Right.
But yeah.
Speaking of websites that kind of hide themselves and pretend to be something else, there's actually an add-on out there specifically for the Pravda network. Sarah, what's Pravda?
Okay, so Pravda is a Russian perception management entity, and this extension, what this extension does is it actually shows if a domain or a news agency or website is linked to the Pravda network. So if you're doing studies on Russian influence activities or on perception management campaigns, this is actually a great tool.
Right.
So I do recommend it. But
right, you might be thinking you're getting news from a small town in Moldova, and you look at this and you have this thing on there that points out, no, this is actually Pravda.
Right. Yeah. And Pravda is huge. I mean, you have thousands of sites that are in Pravda. So.
Yep. Sailor Cyber is going to add that to the extensions. Good.
Cool.
I'm going to add it
Right
to my
on.
examples too. I mean, it definitely
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see what shows up with them, especially if, like, again, I love my News Now aggregator, but I wonder how many get past it into there. I'm hoping not that many, but we'll find out.
Mhm.
Okay. And okay, so I have another thing to talk about, and that is that a lot of people are doing a lot of their own analysis, and I love that. I love seeing citizen journalists analysts, citizen investigators. I love and hate it. The thing I don't like is that they don't necessarily do a lot of verification themselves. So one of the things I want to highlight is I want to highlight that you can do, especially right now with these Epstein files that just came out, or the Epstein emails, and people are like, what does this mean? What does this mean? There is a technique out there called the analysis of competing hypotheses. This is a technique developed at the CIA in the 70s, but it's not new. It's not even complicated, but the idea is that you create a whole bunch of different possible hypotheses, and then you run your evidence across them within a matrix to figure out which one is going to be most likely. And what I find is that a lot of people don't realize that there's not just this is true or this is true. It's a breadth of hypotheses, like 8 or 10 hypotheses sometimes. So I created a GPT for that. And the idea for this is you can ask it a question that's going to be a hypothetical question, a question that's going to have multiple possible answers. And then it's supposed to prompt you for the evidence. Now, this is ChatGPT. It's going to actually ask you to give it, it's going to try and find the evidence for you in some cases. I want it to ask you for the evidence. If it doesn't, I want you to tell it to disregard its evidence, and I want you, the human, to put in the evidence. Ask it, I mean, it should already tell you, but ask it what type of evidence it needs, and then go and find it and start throwing it in there. So for example, when I ask it, when we talk about in the Epstein files, there's a reference to Mira. What is this? And my hypothesis is that it is a person or the Mira app. Actually, I think it's Miro, but anyway, Mira app. What else? And the idea is that this thing's going to go and find a bunch of either hypotheses for you, and then start identifying what information is going to be necessary for figuring it out. All right, so what we know about the Epstein files, blah, 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 your hypotheses and possible meanings. Okay, so now it's saying it could also be a code name or alias, a project name, a place or location, a document or file tag, an acronym or abbreviation, a mistaken reading or transcription area. Why it's difficult to confirm. What does it mean? So this is going to be the matrices, and now I want it to okay, then it kind of tells you what else you can get. So now you can start throwing in, okay, here's my proof, here's my information about, Epstein knows a person named Mira. Also, Mira is this really cool app that lets you do really cool web analysis, but I don't know how well Epstein, how computer savvy Epstein is, and then maybe you can go research that. What other kind of evidence will I need? And you can have it ask, figure out that, and you figure out the evidence, and it will perform the matrices for you and bring you out a ranked list of the different hypotheses. So if you ever want to figure out, so you're not entirely sure what does 6-7 mean, here's my hypotheses, what other hypotheses are available, here's my evidence, etc. You can go and throw it into my ACH GPT. Like I said, this is all of our links are always going to be available on the YouTube channel, but I'm going to post it in the chat for those of you here on Twitch right now if you're interested.
And just to add to, this is a great thing for brainstorming. And all LLMs have a degree of hallucination. So as Kirby said, you don't let it tell you, you tell it. And also you can also use like other LLMs to cross compare. And if you never put into ChatGPT something that you would want to keep proprietary. And the reason for that is, well,
The fear of leaks.
right. If you wanted to keep something proprietary, obviously, then you would want to make your own in-house LLM.
And there are plenty. And if anybody's interested and they want our, we have a workbook, a handout that we do for our classes. And in that, we have a whole section about AI, including a big set of resources on how to make your own AI LLM using the Llama network or the Ollama network, which is Meta's and then an open source version of that, where you can actually make an AI inside your own computer that you can keep everything private. You can put all your personal details into there if you want and have it analyze stuff without having to worry about it leaking. But yeah, ChatGPT specifically has a history of leaking data.
Right.
All right. Let's talk AI slop.
Okay.
I'm so excited about this week's AI slop. And the reason I'm excited about that is because it's very holiday themed, right, Sarah?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so if you want to see the best Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade ever, way better than the real one, go to Sora. We'll have our link. Again, I'll put our link in Twitch, but we'll also have it in YouTube. But go to Sora and check this out. All right, so I'm going to play a couple of them, but I'm going to leave the rest for you. So anyway, here we go. Oh, I think I have it on mute. So let's get there.
Dazzling float celebrates our galactic neighbor Andromeda.
Check out that spinning spiral. Every panel is sliding in from deep space. This chilling spectacle pays tribute to the sci-fi classic Alien.
Look at that towering creature. Its head shimmers like it's fresh out of the airlock.
Sliding in from deep space. This
In with a whole lot of groove. It's the Up in Smoke float.
check out that bouncing lowrider and the mission-style backdrop. Pure 70s vibe.
And here come our look-alike duo, channeling Cheech and Chong with plenty of late.
Coming up, the streets get lit with the Breakin' 2 electric boogaloo float.
We've got the Miracles Community Center, that shining disco ball, and a crew ready to bust a move.
Watch these b-boys and beat girls spin.
Rolling up next is a slice of 70s family life. The 8 is Enough float.
There's the Bradford house, the trusty station wagon, and a porch full of love and laughter.
Nothing beats a holiday.
Here comes a ride straight from the street racing saga that kicked into our hearts.
The Fast and the Furious float.
It's got a muscle car up front.
A turbo the size of a turkey.
All right. And Giancarlo says, so much better than the real one. I agree. I am obsessed with this series on Sora. So again, I'll give you our link right now in the Twitch stream, but I'm also going to have it available in the YouTube show notes. And all you need to do is just flip through it. If you notice up at the top, let's see if I can. You don't see my cursor, but you can kind of see where I'm clicking up here.
Rolling in now, a float we're calling one.
At the top up here, that's where you're going to go side to side to kind of follow along and see everything that people have created. And you can go ahead and make an account and create one of your own too. If you think, oh, something's missing, I need to make a OSINTirl float happening in the parade. You can absolutely do that. It's pretty fun.
Saluki float.
A Saluki float. Exactly.
Saluki float.
Saluki float. Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the comments in the chat, and we hope everybody will have a fantastic Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right.
Until next time.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye. Bye.